Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Taking Stock Live. I'm Kalilah Reynolds, welcoming you to yet another live show. It is my pleasure to be here in your company. Glad that you are choosing to make us a part of your Tuesday evening. And I know some of you might be confused and you forget because today feel like Monday. Trust me, it almost happened to me as well. I almost forgot that we have the show today because today is actually Tuesday and not Monday. So that means that we do have another wonderful episode of Taking Stock Live for you. Today we're talking about oil prices, a lot of things going on in the industry that you as active and savvy investors absolutely need to be aware of. Of course, we're bringing you all the latest business news and telling you how it will affect you and your money. And don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter at KalilahReynolds.com/newsletter. Give me a thumbs up if you're already subscribed. Let me know who's subscribed to the newsletter. Make sure that that is on your agenda if you haven't done it just yet, because you get everything in What's Hot coming into your inbox directly via text format. Tomorrow morning, that's going to be there. And then on Sunday, we have our recaps of everything that we've done, plus my little editorial spin. You get my take, my perspective on what's going on in various industries. So that's something that you absolutely want to be a part of. So come on, let's get this money.
Oil prices have once again skyrocketed globally. So what does this mean for your pocket? How soon will you see an increase in cooking gas, car fuel, and your electricity? We'll discuss with General Manager of Petrojam, Winston Watson. And the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. The local stock market has fallen following the Bank of Jamaica's recent interest rate hike. The big two financial companies, NCB and Scotia, have both seen a decline since the announcement. Caribbean producers have their eyes set on expanding in Jamaica and St Lucia, as well as acquiring an overseas company. And would you take a vacation to space? Find out why two of the world's richest men, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, are betting on space tourism. We'll discuss.
But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart. Digital and creative company iCreate has plans to raise $55 million in a rights issue. The company said it's in discussions with brokers and arrangers to get the process started. It said the raise will focus on restructuring its bond, currently 12.7%, with principal payments looming. They also intend to convert a portion of debt to equity and raise fresh working capital to enable the company to meet its short-term obligations. iCreate said its intention is to have a stronger balance sheet while it diversifies operations and pivots into its creative city commercial real estate project. The company continues to be bullish about digital training and has reported significant growth in educational content production, which accounts for 15% of total revenues since the loss of face-to-face classes. The Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, has ordered the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, to stop its Transformer Protection Program pilot project. The cease and desist order, which took effect on October 15, follows wide-scale complaints of frequent and prolonged power outages in 88 affected communities. Reports suggested that the outages were more widespread in sections of St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, Clarendon, and St. James. JPS is also banned from taking similar actions in any other community. The pilot project has been suspended for 90 days to allow the OUR to complete its investigations and publish its findings. The OUR said there is a real risk that paying customers will be deprived of reliable electricity as required by the power company's license obligations. Jamaica is one step closer to a new identification system. Parliament last week approved the National Identification and Registration Act 2021. The National Identification System NIDS will provide a secure structure to enable the collection and storage of identity information. The voluntary tool can also verify an individual's identity, facilitate the electronic signing of documents, and securely access a range of government services online. The passage of the bill comes 2.5 years after the 2017 Act was struck down for being unconstitutional. The bill was passed with 14 amendments with the support of the opposition. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has declared that there will be a new vaccine policy once 50% of Jamaicans have been vaccinated. He's set the threshold in response to growing calls for a vaccine mandate to boost the slow vaccination rate. However, Mr. Holness said he's deliberately avoiding the term mandate as the government will not be forcing anybody to take the jab. Instead, he said the new policy will see unvaccinated Jamaicans bearing the consequences of their action. Based on recent data, about 12% of the population is now fully vaccinated against COVID-19, with about 8% receiving at least a first dose. Scotiabank is offering $20,000 in cash incentives to customers who register on the bank's online platform or the new Scotiabank Caribbean mobile app. The promotion runs until the end of October. It's part of efforts by the bank to increase customers' digital transition. 20 customers will receive cash prizes of $1,000 each. Senior Marketing Manager Tanya Russell said the initiative is designed to entice even more persons to experience the benefits and convenience of online banking. First-time users will receive 2 entries if they sign up for Scotia Online and complete a transaction, while customers who've been inactive for more than 30 days and complete a transaction on the platform during the promotion will receive 1 entry. Eligible transactions include transfers between Scotiabank accounts, third-party bank transfers, bill and credit card payments, and mobile top-up. All transactions in local and US dollars qualify. The final draw will take place on Wednesday, November 17. Alan McDaniel has been appointed the new Managing Director of Stationery and Office Supplies, SOS. The appointment took effect on October 15. He will lead the company's transition into the fast-changing pandemic market. Alan, who was previously Deputy MD, takes over from his father and co-founder David McDaniel. Former Director of Purchasing and Administration Kelly McDaniel Mouchette has assumed the role of Deputy Managing Director. David McDaniel remains on the Board of Directors and will support the management team as a consultant. What's Hot was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
Hey moneymakers, you're not an official part of the family until you have your merch. Visit KalilahReynolds.com/store to order your t-shirt and your mask today. Let's get this money.
This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency, Insurance Made Easy, and Appleton 8-Year Reserve.
My microphone was muted. All right, welcome back, everybody, and thanks for sticking with us. Where is everybody joining us from today? Where in Jamaica are you this evening? Where in the world are you? Because the internet has us all over the place. I see Chris Hill is joining us all the way from Panama, and Chris has a little take on this whole oil prices discussion we're about to have. He said, I'm in Panama and prices have been steadily rising here. So yeah, we already see that. So let me see what else we have in the comments. Raquel says she's in Kingston, Jamaica. Kai is in Mobay. Malik is in Kingston. Glenroy is in Santa Cruz. So big up everybody joining us all around the world. Don't forget as well to like the video because this helps to improve our, improve our rankings in YouTube's algorithm so that YouTube can show it to more people. More people can have the information that we're about to receive here this evening. So I am using my phone this evening to record. So usually I'm on my laptop, so I'm a little bit incapacitated. The quality looks good as far as I can see, but I don't have the usual control that I would have. So please bear with me this evening as I try to maneuver this conversation using my cell phone. Big up Judith in Kingston, Dean in Manchester, Chris from Goshen. Where's Goshen? Which parish is Goshen in? And Kingston says, that explains the quality. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Meaning, does the quality look better or worse than it normally does? I don't know. Let me know what's going on. How does the audio sound as well? Because I don't have my normal microphone system. A lot of differences that I have to work with this evening. All right, Chris says Goshen is in St. Elizabeth. I knew that. Not as sharp as it used to be, at least to me, regarding the quality. Yeah. So silly me, forgot my laptop charger all the way in Mandeville, and it's not going to get here till tonight. So, oh well, we have to make do. The show must go on. So let's talk about it. Oil prices are going up. You might have noticed last week that Petrojam raised gas prices, fuel prices by $3 a liter. So now the ex-refinery price from Petrojam is around the range of $155. That's for 87 gasoline. It's more for 90. And at the pumps, you may be seeing almost $200 a liter for gasoline in some places. So what is going on? We're going to talk about it and the implications that it has for various sectors of the economy and for your pocket, because that's what we're all concerned about. And joining me to discuss this evening is Winston Watson. He's the General Manager of Petrojam. Hi, Winston, and welcome to Taking Stock.
Hi, how are you doing? Good night to you and your listeners.
Okay, so I am not seeing you, and I need to figure out.
There you go.
There we go. I thought it was some setting on my phone, but now I see you. Yeah, it's the first time seeing you face to face on this program, because normally I interview you on radio. And
that's correct.
We can hear each other, but I'm happy to be able to see you face to face and have this discussion.
Okay.
So start by setting the stage for me, Winston. What's going on with oil prices right now? Where are they and why?
Well, let's start at the beginning. So last year you had COVID, and pretty much the price of everything went down. But let's stick to the oil market.
We had negative oil prices last year.
Well, that's it needs some understanding, but it's not really negative. What happened is you'd have people who buy oil, and then at the end of the month they're trying to trade in their contracts, and there's nobody taking the oil, so they have to pay to store it. So that ends up being seen as a negative price because you're actually paying now for something you have, but it's not the actual price that is negative. It's how the contracts are administered. But we can have a conversation on that. But what happened last year, and I like to distinguish between oil, as in crude oil, and finished product, as in gasoline, diesel, jet fuel.
Right.
So last year you had COVID. The demand went down for pretty much all petroleum products. So gasoline,
nobody was traveling.
People wasn't traveling, people wasn't driving, jet fuel went down. Hotels were closed, so you weren't selling LPG. Industries were closed, so diesel prices were down because demand was down. That dragged down the price of crude oil. So everything went down. Then you come up with a vaccine, and let me add actually, and then when that happened, OPEC actually cut back on their output as well. OPEC being the majority producer for crude oil. So then you have a vaccine, and what happened now is the demand started going back up because people are now more comfortable driving, people are taking vacations, hotels are starting to open back up. So you start get that confidence, you start get that demand driven. OPEC didn't release the production that they were promising. So you get a demand for finished product, and you get a demand for crude oil to make the finished product. So in tandem, and there isn't a lot of production of the raw material crude oil. So you start to get the prices going up. And then within the last couple of weeks, what happened, there was an issue where Russia decided to raise the price of LNG to Europe, which is their primary market, one-off. What happened? The power producers in Europe switched from LNG to generate electricity to petroleum-based diesel, heavy fuel oil to generate electricity. So that drove up a demand again for petroleum products in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a shortage of tanker drivers in Europe, which created a run on gas stations. So there was a shortage of fuel in Europe, in England especially. And that again would see the demand in England going up. So the US market was sending products to England because the price is higher there. We are reference to the US market. So when the prices rise in the US, we see that effect. So all of those factors came together, and you're seeing now prices are going up as they are.
Right. So we're seeing WTI as West Texas Intermediate. That's a
Right.
benchmark that we use
That's the
here in
benchmark we
Jamaica.
use for some of our crude oil.
Right. So we're seeing that at
And
about $85. I think today was 82.
now
And that's pretty high. So when we think of 2008, when oil prices reached record highs, it was $100+, and we're approaching that.
right. But so that is the raw material, the crude oil. Now
Right.
remember, you don't put crude oil in your car. You put
Right.
gasoline or you put diesel. But that raw material is what we use as refiners to make the gasoline and the diesel, the finished product. So
Right. So that will
once,
impact everything else.
exactly. So once you get the crude oil prices going up, and the refiners need to buy it to put in their refinery and produce gasoline and diesel, that is going to drag up the price of gasoline and diesel as well. So whereas we'll say to persons, do not look at the price of crude oil. In this particular instance, because it's rising so much and it is such an important factor in your finished product price, you're going to find that finished products are going to go up in tandem with the rise in crude oil prices. And that's what we're seeing.
So compare where we are now to 2008, the Great Recession, when we saw those ridiculous $100 barrel oil prices. Where are we now in terms of being able to withstand those types of prices?
Well, apart from our conservation effort one, which I say we still need to practice, remember, we're not so heavily dependent, especially for power generation, on oil, heavy fuel oil. JPS has switched a lot of their generating capacity to LNG, but we still have a small market in the heavy fuel oil. But apart from that, we are still pretty much dependent on petroleum base. We do have some renewable in the system now, such as Wigton with their wind farm. You have solar plants, and maybe a small amount of hydro. But overall, we are still in a pickle. If prices continue to rise, the impact on the economy could be high.
Right, because back then as well, that's around the time that Venezuela came out with the Petrocaribe arrangement, and
That's
that helped
correct.
us to weather that storm for the next few years subsequent to that. But
That's correct.
Petrocaribe is no more, and oil prices are going up. So what we're gonna do, Winston?
Right. So when we had Petrocaribe with Venezuela, PDVSA, they pretty much guaranteed a secure supply of products to Jamaica, primarily crude oil, because we have the refinery. And I always say to people, it's always easier to get crude oil than it is to get finished products. So having the refinery here is a plus for Jamaica because we can buy the crude oil, we can refine. And as prices continue to go up, you're going to see that market tightening up as well. So you had the sanction, the issues with PDVSA, the U.S. sanctions against Venezuela, and the demise of Petrocaribe. So that helped Jamaica in terms of balance of payment. So how that worked is Petrojam would buy petroleum product at market prices. But when we're paying for it, if we're going to pay out $100, let's say, we would keep a percentage of that in Jamaica, and we pay that over to the government. And the other, let's say 40% would go to Venezuela, 60% stayed in Jamaica. So your foreign exchange outflow was significantly reduced by that arrangement with Venezuela. That is no more.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pretty much at the mercy of the market and what is taking place.
But can we weather it if the prices continue to go up and hit that $100 range?
Yes, we will have to. We have no choice. The only difference, of course, is that it will depend on what is in the reserves at the BOJ, because that's where you're going to end up getting a lot of your foreign exchange. Because as you know, we're not getting a lot of tourist dollars still coming in. We still have
Right.
remittances, but not so that could also affect, of course, your exchange rate. But
Right.
I think we can weather this storm. I mean, we have to practice some amount of restrictions, conservations. As I said last week on another program, a lot of people in Jamaica buy 90 octane, for instance, gasoline, when your vehicle needs 87. 80%, 90% of the cars in Jamaica don't need 90 octane gasoline. If your car is designed for 87, you put 90 in there, it just blow it right out through the tailpipe. It just, you're wasting money if you do that. 87 octane is cheaper than 90. Start conserve, be very restrictive when you're driving, where you're going, all that speeding. We just have to be careful and manage our consumption.
How do you know which type of fuel your vehicle takes?
It's actually listed in the manual in your vehicle.
Check the manual. If you don't have
Check
the
the
manual,
manual.
Google.
Well, if you don't have, you can certainly call us, write us. You can check with your gas station operators. Some of them should know. Your mechanic definitely should know. And when you look in your vehicle manual, you may see a number marked something like 93 run, which is one number. But the octane is actually an average of two number. It's run and mon, M-O-N. But excuse me, as I said, your mechanic can tell you, and your manual tells you that.
Okay, well, that's a good tip. So, based on what you've been observing on the global markets right now, is it likely that oil prices are going to continue to rise? And if so, for how long?
My firm belief is that it will continue for another couple of weeks, months, and then I think it's going to go back down. That's just my firm opinion. You see, the thing is, as the prices go up, you're going to get contraction because economies are going to be complaining. Countries are going to be complaining, I mean. Economies are going to contract. And you're even hearing it now where some of the countries that are large importers are complaining that they cannot afford oil at $100. You have some producers, some of the OPEC countries are saying $80 is a reasonable number. So I think it's going to go down because as the price go up, the demand is going to go the opposite direction. And I think prices are going to come down. You're also getting into what they call the winter season, where driving is minimized. So your demand for gasoline should go down. Your heating fuel like diesel, fuel oil, propane will start go up because that's your fuel for the winter months.
Mm-hmm.
And once that demand goes down because of the season, then that will also help to drive prices down.
I was reading today that it is looking like a cold winter for China. China is getting cold a bit earlier than usual. And so that demand is going up. And that's part of the reason driving the oil prices up as well, because China is having increased demand.
China is a large importer as well. But for instance, India, a couple of their refiners are banding together to go to the market because they're a large importer. And they're trying to get the large producers to sell them oil, crude oil that is, at a cheaper price because it's also driving up the price of the finished product in India. But we don't have that clout. We're a small country. We take maybe 15 million barrels a year. You're going to find that we're a price taker in the scheme of things. We have a competitive pricing model, I think, despite what people may say. And that pricing model is what allows us to manage the price increase as you are seeing them, despite your comment earlier that prices went up by $3. 3 weeks ago, they were coming down for the last 3 weeks because the demand was not there. So
Right, I did
these
notice
factors
that.
go up and down, yes.
I did notice that because in August they were at 157 for 87. And
That's
I
correct.
did take a look at the prices over the past few weeks, and I did notice that they came down to the 140s, and then now they're going back up. So yes, it
That's
does go
correct.
both ways. Explain for me, Winston, what's the relationship between Petrojam and JPS? So how do these price changes affect our electricity cost?
Okay, so earlier I mentioned to you that JPSCO would have switched most of their power generation to LNG. Prior to that, we don't sell LNG, by the way. They buy their LNG from New Fortress Energy. Prior to that, we would have been the primary supplier to JPSCO of their energy, their heavy fuel oil that they use for running their generators. So if the price of heavy fuel oil goes up, which would happen in this case, then what would have happened is we sell that oil to JPSCO. That fuel is a pass-through in your electricity bill, and so your electricity price goes up and down depending on the price of heavy fuel oil. We are not selling JPSCO that much heavy fuel oil anymore. So the price of petroleum now products is not a significant factor in your JPSCO bill. However, LNG is now the significant fuel for JPSCO. So as the price of LNG goes up, you're going to see that in the price of your electricity bills.
And it's related. So
Likewise,
it's
if
another
it's
thing
going up,
to look out for. So
look
in
out for
addition
the
to monitoring
LNG.
oil prices, we should also monitor where
Correct.
LNG prices are right now.
That's correct. And a part of what drove up the price of oil recently was the increase in LNG prices in Europe. Now, the
Right, you did
US
mention that.
market would be on a different, what they call a different pricing basis, but you still have that relationship.
We also have to mention, so we've been keeping an eye on inflation, which we know has been trending up. And so will this increase in oil prices and subsequently fuel prices locally affect inflation too?
Well, I'm not an economist, I'm an engineer, but if you get the price of your input going up, goods and services, then yes, that will drive up inflation as well. I see the BOJ is trying to control the inflation rate by raising the interest rate. So I guess their intention is if you raise the interest rate, there's less money out there to spend, and that's their approach. But
Right.
yes,
So viewers take note, because transportation is a part of the basket of goods and services that the BOJ monitors and that Statin monitor. So if fuel price gone up, transportation price gone up, then that will impact inflation. Additionally, for manufacturers who use these fuels in their manufacturing process, and they have to, locally produce goods, have this input, that's also going to have an impact, right, Winston?
that's correct. And not just that, but we supply fuel for the ships as well, bunker fuels. So even your freight costs will go up because bunker fuel,
Boy.
which is what you use in the ships, that's the heavy fuel oil, the diesel, that is also going up. So freight cost is going to get affected by that. And if freight cost is going up, then it means your products that you import, whether from China or the United States, is also going to go up. So there's a total spin-off effect once this starts to happen. And I just think it's good that the consumer is aware of all these things so they can understand what is happening in the marketplace. And as I said, hopefully start practicing their conservation measures.
Boy, Christmas not looking so merry at all, Winston.
No, but there's always hope.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I do have something that can make you merry. I have a little gift for you from Appleton Estate. It is their 8-year reserve.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so hopefully this can keep you merry. I don't know if it will last you all the way till Christmas because it's only one bottle, but it should make a good start.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me in this segment, Winston Watson, General Manager of Petrojam.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And so for all the viewers, I hope you've been taking notes, paying keen attention with what is going on with the industry, making sure that you conserve as much as possible. Winston told you that if your vehicle only needs 87 fuel, don't bother buy the 90. You need to conserve. If you are looking at your electricity costs in the coming months, make sure that you conserve as much as possible as well. Anil wants to know where's his gift package. Hold on now, Anil. In about 2 weeks, what is today? The 18th? Taking Stock's birthday is coming up. Our second birthday is coming up. Can you believe this show will be 2 years old in just a few months? Weeks? Week after the 28th was our first episode of Taking Stock. Today is the 19th. So in 9 days, a week and a half, we'll be 2 years old. And in 2 weeks, we'll be celebrating a 100th episode of Taking Stock. Right now, this is episode 98. So I'm going to make sure that I have some goodies for you coming up at that time when we celebrate our 100th episode and our 2-year anniversary, our 2-year birthday. I'll make sure I have some Appleton Estate 8-year rum for you and maybe some other things as well. Maybe some money. I know you guys like money. I know I do. All right. So shout out to everybody who is watching us all over right now. I also want you to take this week's poll question in the community section of the channel. And our question is, let me see if I can remember what the question is. All right, it's on the screen. With oil prices going up, which of these increases would affect you the most? Fuel prices, electricity prices, cost of goods and services, or other? Leave a comment. So you can comment in the live chat right now, but I also want you to take the poll on the community section of the channel. See, I'm getting confused because I'm used to looking directly in the middle at the camera, but I keep forgetting that here on the phone, the camera is over there. So I have to look here at the camera. But thank you all for bearing with me. David says, no, you're talking. Judith says, conserve, keep some in reserve. John says, cost of goods and services. That's what's going to affect you the most. Carice says, wow, I've been in tune since then. Congrats. How many of you watched the very first episode, the very first, the premiere, or even the pilot episode, which was the one with John Jackson when QWI was doing their IPO 2 years ago? That would have been September 2019. And then I don't even remember what our first official episode was, what the topic was. But how many of you joined us since then? Like, did you come to the premiere party? We had a premiere at Janga's. There was a whole lot going on. So I'm going to make sure that we do something for you, something special for you when we celebrate our birthday in a couple of weeks. So remember to comment, take our poll, like the video. And up next, we've got your market recap. And the analysts are standing by.
This segment of Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency, Insurance Made Easy, and Appleton 8-Year Reserve.
Time now for your market recap, brought to you by Sagicor Investments. Think wealth, think Sagicor Investments. The Jamaica Stock Exchange declined, with the combined index losing nearly 4,000 points, or about 1%. 109 stocks traded across both the main and the junior markets of the JSE for the week ending Friday, October 15, 2021. 46 advanced, 52 declined, and 11 stayed the same. Nearly 91 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, totaling $557 million. Wigton Wind Farm ordinary shares saw the most trading activity. It took up nearly 12% of market volume. People bought and sold nearly 11 million shares in the company. The stock gained 2 cents to open this new week at 51 cents. QWI Investments traded at the second highest volume, with people buying nearly 11 million shares in the company. The stock lost 5 cents to open this new week at 90 cents. And Mayberry Jamaican Equities rounded out the most traded, taking up 11% of market volume. The stock lost 48 cents to open this week at $8.50. Now let's see who had the biggest gains for the week. Shareholders are at it again with CIBONEY. The stock price jumped nearly 74% to close last week at 66 cents. Portland, the JSX stock price rose nearly 22% to close last week at $8.45. And rounding out our biggest gains, Dolphin Cove is up nearly 18% to open this week at $10.25. On the losing side now, Pulse Investments was the biggest loser for the week, down nearly 19%. The stock closed last week at $4.08. Sagicor Real Estate X Fund stock fell 14% to open this new week at $7.05. And rounding off the week's biggest losers, I Create Ordinary Shares lost nearly 13% to close last week at 95 cents. Market Recap was brought to you by Sagicor Investments. Think wealth, think Sagicor Investments. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers.
Welcome back to Taking Stock. Time now for the Analysts, and I'm very pleased to welcome back investment research and sovereign risk analyst at JMMB Group, Leovani Dillon, business writer at The Observer, David Rose, and financial coach, founder, and CEO of Profit Jumpstarter, Keisha Bailey. Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me, Kalilah.
All right, so we have our list of topics that we want to discuss, but we also have to bear in mind what our viewers want to hear about. And it stood out to me in Market Recap just now as well, CIBONEY. And David, I'm going to ask you about CIBONEY because last time this happened and CIBONEY saw a sudden increase in stock price, you're able to explain to us what was going on with CIBONEY. And now all of a sudden we're seeing a 73% increase in CIBONEY stock price in 1 week. And so the viewers, Kristen, you can find some of the comments from people asking about CIBONEY, wanting to know what's up with it yet again.
Well, CIBONEY just means CIBONEY, because in essence, some people are just, somebody is collecting their gains because the reality is nothing behind CIBONEY has really changed. They're apparently still looking for their buyer. Because, CIBONEY is technically just a shell company right now. They recently, moved to the Ministry of Finance's HQ at US Circle. They, removed an executive director. And, they kind of tried to contain expenses. But in the reality is, at the current rate of burning cash, they probably can go to the next May, probably at best stretch to next August at best, at their current cash burn rate, until they run out of cash and basically stop functioning as a company. So right now, the whole trading CIBONEY is just persons, speculating that, someone will buy them up before they are taken over. But at the same time,
are there fresh rumors of a new buyer, David? Because I think that's what spurred it last time. There were rumors that it was basically on the verge of being sold. Are there new rumors? Have you heard anything?
So they did put out an advertisement in the Jamaica Gleaner on Friday saying that, hey, have you ever wanted to be listed on the JSE and want to take a cheaper route? Why don't you take a 73% stake? Like it was like a shopping bag kind of ad, where they say, hey, you want a company? You want to be on a stock exchange? It's CIBONEY here. So they're probably looking to find new buyers, because if that wasn't the case, I don't think they're taking out an ad to try and promote to sell the shares again. But otherwise, there isn't any significant news in the background as to somebody wanting to take over CIBONEY. Because you have to remember, the reverse takeover, although it's an indirect way to on the stock exchange, would you want to forego the opportunity to go the direct route and, try and find opportunities to list? Because at 50 cents, which is below the actual price of CIBONEY's current share price, the FinTech holding is actually about $200 million, the total holding of 73%. So if you are considering to do the reverse takeover of CIBONEY, you're going to spend $200 million and just get your reverse takeover. But at the same time, is that what you want to do? That's just a big question, because when you do the reverse takeover, you're going to need to inject new capital into CIBONEY to make the company whatever you want to become. So it really is a question of which company wants to come on the stock exchange that desperately and has the cash to back it up.
Leo, you look like you had some insight to add. Yes or no? I don't know if I was judging your expression correctly.
No. I agree with what David is saying, because there's a cost to the reverse takeover. So if the shares get too expensive, it doesn't make any sense. So it running up this 70+% now just make that reverse takeover that much more expensive and unrealistic. So it's only realistic if the stock, for argument's sake, someone can come in, or entity, sorry, can come in and buy the shares, for example, for 20 million or 30 million. But once it start going up here, it's way cheaper just to pay a broker, get the marketing and list the regular way. So yeah, so there's a cap to how much an investor would be willing to pay for the shares.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Keisha, internationally, do we see reverse takeovers regularly?
We do actually, and it's a very common investing strategy where persons buy the rumor, sell the news. So the rumor is here, everyone's jumping in to buy it. We'll wait to see the official news of how it will be, and then that's the exit point in terms of speculative investors, what they'd be wanting to do. Reverse takeovers are very common, but it depends on the price for that takeover, and that's what ultimately will drive the news and the
Right,
selling.
that Leo was just pointing out. Okay, let's look at the local market. For the past couple of weeks, we've been talking a lot about the BOJ's interest rate decision that has been increased. We've been talking about inflation. We've been talking about all of these macroeconomic factors. And now we are beginning to see how the market is reacting. So, David, we have noticed a decline in the BOJ main index, meaning the value
The
of all the
JSE,
stocks.
the JSE index, you mean?
Sorry, the JSE, the JSE index. Yes. So tell me what's going on there. What is the reaction, or what we assume to be a reaction to this this decision by the BOJ?
So what you're seeing is that NCB and Scotia Group, which make up a large component of the overall index, have been seeing a continuous decrease in their prices. And what you've seen is that since the BOJ's rate hike, you've seen further interest in terms of selling off of the stock, for persons, kind of get liquidity and exit their positions. Because you have to remember, in the context of NCB, they've only paid 2 dividends over the last 2 calendar years, basically. And then with Scotia, they have, couple kind of dividend payments in the context of COVID, basically, but persons are rushing to basically get their exit, which is, in turn pushing on the index, because although GHL, Garden Holdings Limited, other companies have come onto the market, which has kind of spread out the index's weighting, NCB still has a significant contribution or value to the overall JSE index. As NCB continues to go down, you'll see a kind of pull down effect as well, which in turn affects, the JSE index, hedge cross select funds, financial, and so on. So, like for example, NCB hit an all-time low recently of 121.03. Now that's a pretty steep decline, because the last time I remember seeing these prices was back in probably 2018. And what was even crazier for me, to be honest, was when I saw Scotia's price today. So Scotia's stock price today went as low as 33.02. For context, Scotia, the last when I had to invest in, that was July, August 2016, right? Scotia was selling for 31.72 back in November 2016. And it didn't go back down to these prices until now.
So that's a 5-year low.
You can context a 5-year low. So all those things have been happening over the last, call it 5 years, between the JSE expanding with the market size and investor participation. It's basically all been erased. So persons have been buying up and accumulating around the $50 range, and so on. I've been taking a decent little haircut. It got to a particular level, but for now, I said holding are taking a pretty steep unrealized loss. And what we're going to see is that as persons, try to rebalance their portfolio, try and find what you call more risk-free opportunities, you're going to see more investors try and find opportunities to put their money elsewhere to work. So you're seeing more persons take their JMD investments and putting them to US dollar investments. And that's just because of the fact of depreciation, the BOJ recent interest rate hike. So we're really going to continue selling in the market, basically from the main market perspective, especially for the belt weights, like your GK, not actually GK, but like your NCB, your Scotia, your Panjam. Our rate is down 11% since the quarter started. So yeah, these things are really weighing down over index. But in contrast, the junior market itself, even though it's supposed to be affected more by the interest rate hike, because the cost of capital and cost of goods and services are going to go up for them, those companies really, the market itself has still remain buoyant. The junior market index is up 24% year to date, and you knew the major interest rate hike was announced September 30, the index is going to continue to going up. And remember, we only had what? One listing in the General Manager of Petrojam, which was Pesco. So that's pretty good.
So, Keisha, would some investors consider this a buying opportunity for Scotia and NCB, given those prices? And let me just preface this by saying this is not investment advice. Everybody consult a licensed financial advisor before you make investment decisions for yourself. This information is intended as general information only. Okay? All right, go through Keisha.
So it does present a buying opportunity, because when you think about investing as a long-term game, can we imagine a world without Scotia and NCB in it in Jamaica? No. This is what we call classic near-term panic. Investors are panicking about the outlook for these companies. But if you believe then that they're not going anywhere, it could then be a very good buying opportunity for you. David mentioned the levels at where the prices are at in comparison to the historic levels. We are having a deal bargain for persons who then are looking at these companies and have been admiring them for a period of time. This is now a great entry point. Also on the institutional side, what will likely happen is that portfolios with weights in NCB and Scotia, the weights are going to fall down, and the managers may need to buy those weights back up to bring them back into a target level. And so you may have that buying opportunity as well there on the institutional side. And I'll also likely expect to see the same on the retail side for persons who want to jump into these really great companies at this time. Theoretically, this is how it would all work out, but I would strongly advise persons speak to your financial advisor, your investment advisor, to see if this is really the move that you should be making. Does the theory
based on
apply
your
to your
timeline?
personal
Because
life?
if you're hoping it flip by next week, that might not be realistic.
Right.
So depending on your timelines. Roger says, and the hottest part about all of this is that I don't have any more money to buy any NCB or Scotia. Being broke is a crime. Lord help me.
And
Hush, Roger.
Kalilah. The thing is that when I did the math, Scotia's trailing 12-month dividend yield right now is 3%. And at the pre-COVID levels, meaning 2019, at 50 cents per quarter, that would be a 6% dividend yield. Before you factor in the withholding tax, but still, you're basically seeing this opportunity for investors who, are comfortable holding at this timeline, because imagine you're paying before, or your return dividend yield of probably 1% or something else, and it's coming on to 3%, and this is still we're still in COVID. So what might happen when COVID ends is that Scotia might go back to their original ways of just paying heavy dividends as they usually did before. Like Scotia's always paying probably 78% of their profits to shareholders dividends. So what's will happen when COVID is over?
Yeah. Let's move on to another company that we want to look at this week. So Knutsford Express. I remember 2020 was a pretty tough year for Knutsford Express due to the pandemic, because nobody was traveling, tourism industry gone to nothing. And yeah, they took a big hit in 2020. And their 2021 results are out now, and it's for the year ended May 31, 2021. So this would still include quite a significant chunk of 2020 pandemic losses. But what is the total year looking like for Knutsford, Leo?
Yeah, so all right. So for Knutsford, they finished off the year. They weren't that strong for the year, but what you're looking at now is how they performed for Q1. So the most recent result for them came out for the quarter ended August. So that quarter was very strong for them. So revenue was up 91% to about 232 million. They eked out a profit now, 9.2 million now. This was versus a loss of 25.2 million in the same period the previous year. So you see that performance now, that better performance. That being said, though, if you look on the revenue, it's up again for this year. But if you look on it to a pre-COVID number, it's down 28%. If you look on it against August 2019, it's actually down about 28%, and profits are down because profits in August 2019 was about 47.8 million. So you can see that the 9.2 million is not really that strong, right? So that's basically it for them. Looking forward, though, what you see coming out of the company is that well, you had a guest on earlier that was talking about oil prices. That's not going to be good for them. Of course, that's a major input cost for them. That being said, though, they have a complex that they're building out, not for business center, not for the express, sorry, business center. That could add something to them going forward. They expect it to finish building and fully tenanted by the end of Q3, by about Q3 2022. Q3 for them, sorry, which would end in February 2022. So that's a little way into the future, but that's something to look forward to. As it regards to the performance of the company, right? If you look on the charts, right, you'll see where the company is actually up about 19% for the year. So it's not doing too bad versus the junior market, it's 24.4%. So I mean, overall, it's not a bad performance in terms of the stock price. So that one is interesting. Again, you can see this line here that they just come out with the Q1 numbers at the end of October 15th. So that's Friday. So they just came out with that, and you can see that the performance, you don't really see much of an impact from it. Again, it's because while it's better, it's still not. It's just a fraction of what they had before COVID. All right, so that's the major thing for that. Another stock that interested me though, was talking about big movers, was CPJ.
CPJ, Caribbean producers, Jamaica.
Yeah, man, Caribbean producers, they've been doing very well. As in, like, if you look on their performance recently. So, again, if you look on CPJ, right, you can see this chart here now. You can see where CPJ has been up big in recent times. Again, that's partially because they have some plans to do some acquisition, and the Q4 numbers for them. So if you look on the full year, it wasn't so hot, but if you look on the Q4 in particular, it was actually their best Q4 going back at least 7 years. So going all the way back, and this is coming out of a pandemic. If you look on the major things that drove that, it was some other income, which is more one-off type gains. So that's likely a chunk of that is non-recurring, and also because they control costs. So it was a fairly good number. If you look on the performance of it, I mean, it's back up to basically record closing highs, and you see it kind of backing off a bit here. So looking at this thing now, we can see why, for investors, sometimes it can get in for a while, right? Because you can see back in 2018, this thing was around $7, CPJ stock, crashed down to about $2 in during the depths of COVID, and then now it's back up, right? So you can see sometimes it stocks, and that's why it's very important to talk to your financial advisor, get an understanding of your risk tolerance, because sometimes stocks can be quite volatile, and you have to understand how much risk you're willing and able to take, right?
Yeah, that was quite the crash there. I'm looking at the charts, quite the crash, and then quite the rise again.
And then quite the rise, right? So it's done very well. And then finally here, you can see that the performance really picked up after that earnings release. So they released the earnings around the end of last month. Yeah, October 1, yes, right? At the beginning of this month. And what you can see here is that as soon as they drop that number, you can basically see that the stock, move another leg higher. So it was up big for the year already, up about 100% year to date. And then, it's up big. Now, again, just for the viewers out there, I know you guys seeing this, that the June CPJ is on the main market now, but it just switched over. So I'm still kind of comparing it to the junior market for a little bit here. That's up 24. But technically, it's on the main market now. But as we know, the main market is up around 2% year to date. So that's not really, performing that well. David spoke to the reason, with what's happening in the large cap banks. But yeah, so that's just to give you an idea here of what's happening. So I think, overall, though, what you get from this is that in the market, even though you see the overall market up 2% for the year, there can be opportunities that you can find a way to generate some decent returns. You just restructure your portfolio, talk to your advisor, find out what's happening in the market, and there's opportunities always out there. So yeah.
So I think blue collar finance saying, will COVID ever ease up? The market seems to believe it will not help, hence the low prices. That depends on your time horizons. Blue collar finance, if you're looking at a few months, then sure. But if your vision is for the next 10, 15, 20 years, eventually things will change. Yeah.
Let's
move on to
One thing to just point out quickly, CPJ actually broke its all-time high in 2018 last week. So it had an all-time high of $7.15, and it broke $7.50 now. And that's a pretty strong indication by the market that they're pretty confident in CPJ, along with the acquisition news that they've announced, along with the potential equity raise they're pondering on the sidelines as well.
Well, since you're on, David, I want to ask you about some other local news. Mayberry Jamaican Equities has increased their stake in Supreme Ventures. Why and what will be the impact of this?
Well, Mayberry Jamaican Equities currently classifies SPL as an investment security. So they measure it just based on the stock price multiplied by the number of shares they own. So they own more than 18% right now, little over 1% left before, they can account for it as an associate company, which basically would mean that they would record share profits on their income statement. They already account for it in the balance sheet would change as well. But it's pretty sure that they're pretty confident in Supreme Ventures going forward because they had about 5% back in 2015 and 2018, and now they're at 18%. And the reality is Mayberry Investments Limited, their parent company, has $1.15 billion in cash that they haven't used as yet. And it only costs $800 million for them to acquire the shares necessary for them to account for SPL as an associate. I remember Gary Pritchard is the CEO, is executive chair of Supreme Ventures Limited. So this is decision by MJE, Mayberry Jamaican Equities, to actually buy more into SPL. It's a little bullish sign that they are looking for some strong opportunities in the future.
Yeah, and even considering that SPL now has competition, signaling their confidence in SPL despite the disease and I can't remember the name of the other one. Lucky Plague. I don't play Lotto, so so I don't follow it that closely, but know that there is competition in this space is something to look at. Let me see. What else do we have on our list? Oh, I teased it, so we got to talk about it. Space tourism. Who wants to go to space? Out of the three of you, Leo, would you go to Keisha? Hand up already. Leo, would you go to space?
Not yet. I need more data. I need more persons to tend the ride and everything work out, and then I'll be. Yeah.
David, would you go?
Of course. Why not? One night to live.
Viewers, would you go? Comment in the live chat. Would you go to space if you had the money? Because right now is a multi-million-dollar endeavor for a plane ticket, a rocket ticket to space. Keisha says she would go. So what's going on in the new space race, Keisha?
So we have three main players. Blue Origin, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, formerly from Amazon. We have Virgin Galactic by Richard Branson, and we have SpaceX by Elon Musk from Tesla. It's a fierce competition against these major players because they're basically putting these flights out there to ultra high net worth persons. 16 non-professional astronauts have made it into space this year alone. So that's 16 people with no form of training whatsoever. They've paid their way to go into space. Costs range from $200 million for a ride on the SpaceX, $200,000 to $450,000 for a ride on USD. Good point. Yes, for a ride on the Virgin Galactic.
Oh, 200 million Jamaican.
US dollars.
Wait.
Yeah.
200 million US for a ride on SpaceX?
No.
Because SpaceX takes you into orbit and you're there for several days. So you get further than the other players.
US dollars for one rocket ticket.
And 4 people have gone so far.
Wow. That is
when you're
insane.
Rich.
All right. Yes. So all right. So that's SpaceX. That's Elon Musk's rocket. And then Virgin is 200,000, you said?
To 450,000.
Oh, that's like the what that cheap plane that name that came to red something. They had a cheap flight.
That's about $70 million GMD.
Yeah, and then you're suborbital, so you don't go as far as the SpaceX, and you're only there for a shorter period of time, a couple minutes, and then you come back to Earth. That's 200 to 450,000 US dollars. To go on the Blue Origin, it's an auction process. William Shatner went
Blue
there.
Origin is Bezos' one?
Yes, that's auction based only. He doesn't reveal the prices of his tickets. And they all have a wait list. They all have a wait list.
So where does Blue Origin take you?
Suborbital as well. SpaceX is the only one that goes into orbit, and they're there the longest. That's why it's 200 million.
Mm. So when you want to reach the Keisha?
Good thing to know for persons who are not yet able to afford the flight to space, you can become an investor. Virgin Galactic is a listed company, for example. Blue Origin and SpaceX are still private, but for persons who still want a bit of the exposure, but you're not willing yet to go into space or your money not there, you can be a shareholder. Always able to partake in it from another angle. But it's been a good year so far. This is the first year of having non-professional astronauts going into space. There is a long wait list of persons. Over 600 persons have already paid tickets to go on the Virgin Galactic. They're waiting for their flights, which will be somewhat late in 2022 because guess what? They're having difficulty with the machinery. So they've stepped back and put everyone on a wait list saying we need to retool and restructure the rockets to be able to make it into space successfully. But there's a long wait list.
I don't know, like I would love to go, but like Leo, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm not going yet. I need more data, more track record.
More people to go and come back.
More people to come back.
Sure that don't blow up.
It needs more confirmation data to be basically say, all right, it actually makes sense.
Yeah, this good.
But Elon is planning like colonies on Mars and all this stuff, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're planning to go there, and then when you're there, you can actually step out, spend some time. 3 days is a very long time to be in orbit. Very long time. People have done it. 4 people. They made it back. They're still alive, walking around. So very exciting times. I'm excited about it. I think from an investment perspective, it does present an opportunity. And people who do benefit from these things are those who are first players, who see the opportunity before the herd.
Spirit Airlines people are laughing and saying stuff. That's one of the names I was trying to remember earlier when I said SpaceX is, the top one, and then the other one, I named Bezos one, not Bezos. I'm getting all mixed up with them now. Richard Branson's one is like the
Virgin
Spirit Airlines.
Exactly. The cheaper one, the 200,000. Yep.
That's way cheaper. Like my goodness. Wow. Investment opportunities, because as you can see, the demand is high. They have wait lists for all of these companies, for all these flights to space. There is lots of excitement. Naturally, they're getting lots of press about this. So these are 3 companies that you may want to look into. Consult your licensed financial advisor if this is somewhere that you may want to go. If you even are interested, you may not be able to afford the 200 mil or even 200,000 US right now, but you could make money off the people who can afford that. So something to consider.
One thing to point out, Kalilah, for those who don't know, what Keisha is referring to is SPCE, which is the Virgin Galactic Holdings Company, Richard Branson's company. That's listed on the NYSE, and Proven is one company you can check to invest in the NYSE or the US markets.
Right. So there are a few of them. You have Proven, you have VMwell, you have I can't even remember the Ideal Portfolio Services. There are a few of them. And of course, you can consult my broker guide if you want to find out which companies can allow you to invest in US markets. Broker guide has all that information in there. Just subscribe to the newsletter, KalilahReynolds.com/newsletter, and you get your free broker guide. Marcus says you have rich like the chic money. I tell you, we're going to get there, guys. Don't be disheartened. If you want to go to space, continue making your investments and you'll get there.
Yes.
Aim for the sky and you'll hit the moon.
That reminds me of something, Kalilah.
Imagine the news the day when we have the first Jamaican in space.
Yep.
One stop, driver. One stop.
But to be one thing to consider though, about maybe 10, 15 years from now, remember that the cost can come down significantly.
Yeah.
Initially, when you had the airline travel, it was a rich people thing. Now it's not that hard to
Yeah, but more people
find an airplane.
used to come out in your Sunday best to travel, and you come out and you wave off the plane. People don't do that anymore because it's a
no, it's
normal
not a
thing.
special normal thing. So
But
right
now we have to go wave off the rocket.
Yes,
you may have a Spirit Airlines coming.
But eventually it's gonna reach a point where it's gonna be more accessible. It just will take probably a few decades. It's gonna get there.
And who knows?
It's not much time. We're young enough.
Yeah,
few decades I'll be around.
Yeah, we'll have that.
Why you laugh, David? You're the youngest of the lot.
You'll be here.
I was gonna say that, you know, it's when there's somebody I was saying somebody can just get lucky, because what's funny is that Tesla is still running up again, and you know, even somebody told me recently, like he got lucky, like, and I mean lucky, just lucky. He got some CIBONEY, like $50 worth, and it was 10 cents. He just wants to get a stock, and he sold that $2 from 360 grand. Like, you can get lucky and end up in space. Like, a lot of persons became millionaires last year thanks to Tesla and the US stock market. So who knows? It's very possible.
They're probably all going to raffle off some space tickets. I would be surprised. I want to thank you all for this very interesting conversation today. I always have fun with you guys. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome, Kalilah.
David,
see
Leo,
you number 100.
Keisha.
Yes.
All right. Stay tuned, everybody. I'm going to take some of your comments. We can have a quick chat before we wrap. Okay. I think we're supposed to play the closing of the analyst just now. You got the closing lined up? I guess not. All right. So let me take some of your comments. I see Marcos says you come out in your Sunday best just to go to waving. Yeah, that used to be. See, I thought that was just a Belize thing, but apparently this was a thing like all over the world because, you know, air travel was expensive. It's not all that common. And it was really a special occasion. And you go wave off the plane, you get your food and your beverages, and the whole family would come out to the airplane to the airport to wave you off. No big deal. Yeah, you go on your sweatpants and sneakers, and it's no big deal on your travel anymore because how much for a ticket to Miami now? Like $300. Back then it was a whole lot more. Plus $300 US would be worth a whole lot more back then at the same time. All right. Roderick says Virgin Galactic Holdings ticker SPCE. Roger saying I had a blast. I see what you did there. Roger, history will be made when that happens. The first Jamaican vacationing in space. Oh, who do you think it will be? Like, which Jamaican celebrity do you think should be the first Jamaican in space? Like somebody like Ninja Man. We need a dancer. We need somebody who's gonna go dance in space and send us videos of them dancing in space. Somebody, K Natural says Bolt. That's not a bad idea. You can see Bolt doing lightning in space. That would be kind of cool. Let's see. Regina says Aki and Saltfish with roast breadfruit or jerk chicken and festival in space. All right. So let me see who else you guys want in space. Michael Leachin, only because he has the money for it. But I want to know who would be the most entertaining in space. Marv Nation says Ding Dong. I'd love to see the dirt bounce in space. Dirt. Don't study me, people. All right, let me tell you what's coming up on the other platforms this week. So if you haven't watched Money Mondays JA yet, make sure you do that. I explain inflation in detail, but also in layman's terms. So if you don't really understand what's going on with this whole inflation thing, because last week's poll question was about BOJ's interest rate hike, and the majority of you said you have no idea what's going on. So watch that video. I did a thorough explanation of inflation. Tomorrow, we are talking about business loans. So tomorrow is Money Moves JA with Exim Bank's Business Advisory Service. And we are speaking to Michelle Smith of Chocolate Dreams, and she tells us about her experience in keeping her business afloat during the pandemic. And there's some really important gems there for people who have been struggling with their business during the pandemic. So make sure you tune in for that. So Kristen, before we go, can you play the closing for the analyst for me, please? Then I can just come back and say bye. Please. Okay, apparently we're having some technical difficulties with it and it's not playing. LA Lewis for space. Oh my God. Just please don't give him any spray paint to go paint up space. Regina says, Tanta Blacks. Tanta will hype it up with even new words that would laugh. How about Gully Bop? Can you imagine Gully Bop in space? Rose says, Tony Mataran, Usain Bolt, Tansha Blacks, Disha, Ding Dong. Who else you guys have? Who else you want in space? Nobody vote for me? You don't want to see me dirt bounce in space? All right, never mind. Next time. Thanks for joining us, everyone, this week. Remember to like the show, like this video, share it with a friend on WhatsApp, on whatever platform that you have. Subscribe to the newsletter, of course. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, you really should by now. Thanks for joining me. I'm Kalilah Reynolds. Until next time. And of course, let's get this money.